Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Erica. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. I missed you. For today's video, I'm going to be reading scary stories about New Orleans. Many people have experienced something paranormal at New Orleans. And I'm not gonna lie, to be honest, I wanna go. My brother recently went and I got the biggest FOMO ever. He brought me like a voodoo doll. I'm actually planning on putting that on my setup back here for Halloween. But I was like, is this real? Because dude, everyone that goes there experiences something creepy. By the way, no, it wasn't real. And talking about that, I really need to prepare for Halloween. It's coming up so quickly. I've been so absorbed with playing games on my phone that I've neglected everything else. But hey, at least these games, they come with awesome rewards. Let me tell you more about it. Before I get started, I want to give a huge thanks to Astra for sponsoring today's video. Astra is an app that allows players to discover new games while you get rewards. Yes, dude, how cool is that? Rewards come in a form of currency called Astra coins and can be exchanged for cash or gift cards with so many brands like PayPal, Amazon, PlayStation, Roblox, Uber Eats, Nike, Google Play, Spotify, Nintendo, and Walmart. Yeah, so many. Look, let me show you. They have so many games. It's really fun because you test your gaming skills in a rewarding way. Plus, they make it super easy and tell you how to get your rewards. I really like the game Bridge Race, Tall Man Run, and it's so cool because you can also be a part of their loyalty program. They have many different game genres too, like puzzle games, mid-core, RPG, match 3, social casino runners, and hyper casual games. Each player also has their own account, so your account gets personalized based on your interests. If you invite a friend to join Astra, you both will get rewarded when they complete their first task. And guess what? New users will get a reward of 200 coins plus coupons. They do have daily gifts and challenges where users can get bonuses, but 200 coins to start, that's a good amount. If you want to play games and earn rewards, download Astra via the link in my description, or you can scan this QR code here on the screen and you will receive a gift of 200 coins and a welcome coupon. It'll be valid for 24 hours after registration, so go take advantage. Thanks again, Astra, for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back into it. My ex and I traveled to New Orleans in April of 2016. Each time I visit, I like to try a different hotel. This time I chose the place d'Armes or d'Armes. I don't know how to say it, guys, but I'm gonna leave how they spelled it here, and I'm gonna put a picture of the place as well. It says, we requested a balcony street facing room. It was a beautiful room, but as soon as I dropped my suitcases, I felt uncomfortable, particularly in the bathroom. I can't explain it, it just didn't feel right. And I'm someone who senses energy strongly. My ex, who was a very believe it when I see it man, told me the next morning when I left the room early to grab a coffee and a morning walk, that as he laid in bed, he swore he saw someone standing behind the curtains. He refused to elaborate. For some reason, as soon as we settled in the room and the days following after, we fought viciously. I mean, a screaming, cursing fight. All the way down Bourbon back to our hotel. A physical fight in the room. Me crying every day. At one point, I texted a friend to see if I could get a flight home early. It was that bad. We were at each other's throats every minute. But when we were out the room, we were fine, affectionate, and kind to each other. The night we had the really vicious fight, I left and wandered the corridor alone. I hoped things would dissipate enough so I could return and sleep. When I came back, my partner was gone. I climbed into bed, had horrible nightmares, and my partner returned when I was sleeping and at some point fell asleep besides me. In the morning when I awoke, it was very early, around 6 a.m. I decided to bathe and then head down to the lobby to grab a croissant, coffee, and newspapers and sit at the courtyard. As I stepped into the bathroom, I kind of leaned in my elbows with my head over the sink, just feeling hungover and rotten, waiting for the bathtub to fill. At some point, I lifted my head to look at my reflection and I saw something. I reasoned at first I was hallucinating or possibly still drunk, but I really hadn't drank much the night before other than the physical effects of a hangover. Mentally, I was pretty alert, but something was wrong with my eyes. So I looked closer, putting my face right up to the mirror. My eyes had changed color. My irises were moving, swirling, changing shape. I blinked, closed my eyes, shook my head, looked again. Yes, I was really seeing what I was seeing. My breath caught in my throat and I jumped back so hard. I banged the bathroom door. I quickly jumped into the tub, trying to wash and get the hell out of that bathroom. Once out, I dried off. I did not dare to look in the mirror again. I got dressed, headed downstairs. I told my ex about my experience in the bathroom later after we had checked out. He thought it was weird, but thought it could have been exhaustion from stress from 4 days of fighting. It was our last day in NOLA before we left for the last part of our journey. We were heading out the country to stay at a bed and breakfast in an old plantation called Almond Plantation House. I was super excited because it was supposedly haunted and I love paranormal shit. As an awesome bonus, it was a Monday and there would be no other guests. And the owners did not live there and did not stay over at night. So we were gonna have this entire place to ourselves. I was stoked. We grabbed some amazing food from a roadside trailer, coffee, and brought our food back to the house. We were dismayed to see that there were other cars in the driveway. As it turned out, other guests had booked in for that night. We were slightly disappointed but made the best for it. We ate our dinner on the upper veranda with a view of the river. The other two couples staying over there were a bit rude and had taken over the only table with seating to play cards. So we had to eat in the rocking chairs, which was awkward. We tried making a conversation, but they were pretty indifferent to us. After a couple of drinks, one of the wives mentioned that both couples share an anniversary and they would go to New Orleans every year after spending the night at Orphanage. I laughed, saying we had done the opposite. New Orleans first and Orphanage last. Here's the part that took my experience in the hotel from creepy to WTF. One wife asked me where we stayed. I said Place de Armes. She laughed and said that's where they stayed every year. She asked what room we were in. I told her 316 and she said, the one with the balcony next to Muriel's restaurant? I replied yes. Again, laughter. And she said they always reserved that room. She was quiet for a minute, then turned to me and said, did you notice anything strange about the mirror in the bathroom? My jaw dropped. Goosebumps rose on my flesh. And I knew in that moment I wasn't crazy. 100% truth. I will never forget that experience. Yeah, dude. So when I go to New Orleans, I'm gonna be scared of bathroom mirrors. I've heard that a lot of people, couples to be exact, that they get into arguments when they go. Yo no quiero salir en broncas con nadie. Así que mejor la voy a pensar dos veces en ir. I had two interesting encounters last summer in New Orleans. I just wanted to tell someone I've never really considered myself to be sensitive, although I have seen a person who recently died. Last summer, I was in New Orleans with my husband, and we went on our typical run of the male ghost tour. The last stop was at the Lalaurie Mansion. Suddenly, something came over me, and I couldn't face the mansion. I had this loud voice in my head tell me, "We don't acknowledge her." My husband asked me what was wrong, and I told him, "We don't acknowledge her." He looked incredibly confused, and I apologized and said, "I can't look at that place. I'm sorry." The next day, we went to the New Orleans Pharmacy Museum. While inside, my husband was immediately affected with a sharp headache. Meanwhile, I felt like someone was immediately attached to me, and he had his hands on my uterus. He was trying to touch my abdomen. I repeatedly heard in my head, "Let me look. I want to see." When we went upstairs to the top of the museum, my husband's headache became considerably worse. I got the sense that whoever was on me wanted him to leave, so it would just be me. After passing a particular exhibit case, my husband announced that we were leaving and to stay where I was and not to come to him. He just kept repeating, "I don't want you to see." As soon as we walked out of the front door of the museum, his headache immediately cleared, and I could feel the man watching me leave. His frustration was palpable. He wanted to separate us. Later, back in the hotel, I did some research and found out the doctor who lived there. The bottom was his pharmacy, and the top was his living quarters. He used to torture pregnant women. He would get them alone or away from a male companion and basically torture them to death. I recently had a baby, and I got this strong feeling that the doctor in the museum had never seen an uterus after childbirth, and he wanted to see. I also read that sometimes men experience strong and excruciating headaches and don't stay in the museum for long, leaving their female companions, wives, girlfriends, or whoever alone. Dude, that's super sad and terrifying. I'm also seeing that not only do people get into arguments, but they also get headaches. I was working in an old cottage restaurant in the quarter like 8 years ago. My shift ended at like 11 p.m. Dude, I feel so bad for the people that work there. Okay, anyways, it says, "We closed and the owner paid me a bunch of money and beer to go paint the slave quarters out back and upstairs." For the first hour or two, this other guy was in there replacing shit in the kitchen. I was hearing him walking around banging things and whatnot. At some point, when I was definitely still hearing him, I walked around to the kitchen to ask him something and he was gone. I pooped myself. The next day, I asked him about it and he said he was only in there for like half an hour, then went home. There was also two times at that place where I saw a dress like flip around the corner as if I'd just missed seeing the person. Went to make sure they were okay and nobody was there. Totally could have just missed them walking out the door, but both times it just felt weird and out of place considering everything in the moment. So a while back, I was visiting family over in New Orleans. We were on a ghost tour downtown on Bourbon Street, I believe it was called. The guide told us about this school that is said to be haunted and that we would walk by it at the end of the tour. Once we reached the school, I took out my phone and took a burst photo, trying to see if I can catch anything in the windows of it. On the road back home, I start to look at the pictures to see if I got anything out of all the burst photos I took. Only problem was that I was only looking inside the windows of the school and not paying attention to the outside. Once I started observing the whole photo, I noticed that in one of the pictures was a man in some kind of top hat or a fedora, clear as day, walking nearly right in front of me. The thing that threw me off was that if I zoomed in, he was completely transparent. Also, if you don't know, burst photos on an iPhone take pictures very, very fast in a short burst of time, so you don't miss anything. This man was in one of the pictures when he should have been moving along down the sidewalk as each picture was taken. Could just be my memory, but I don't remember anyone walking in front of the camera when taking this photo either. I was freaking out and showing everyone I knew down there what I caught. I was around 15 at the time, 19 now. My uncle owns a bar in Louisiana called Laketown Bar and Grill, and I was showing all the customers there the picture. Everyone there was freaking out also. For some reason, all the people I showed it to, I had to circle where it was because they just couldn't see what I was seeing. But once you do see it, it's clear as day. I'm going to link the picture right below this. I have two pictures there. One of the raw picture and the other I circled the entity just in case you can see it. I honestly think that's a ghost. Someone commented that it looks like a plague doctor. Those doctors honestly scare the crap out of me. Like, don't get me wrong, I know why they wore those bird masks. Lo que es, and they look creepy as fuck. And it's no help that I have a phobia of birds. So ever since I learned about all of that in history class, it just gave me the creeps. Parece como una máscara that's just meant to be scary, aka just for Halloween. About 2 years ago, I took my now ex-girlfriend to New Orleans for her 21st birthday. Pretty awesome birthday gift if you ask me. She was always into creepy stuff, and New Orleans, being the most haunted city in the United States, was right up her alley. I was 24 at the time, and this was the first relatively exotic vacation I have ever been on without my family. This being my first full-on vacation, it cost a whole lot of money, and found a really cool hostel for us to stay at, since I had planned out a week-long stay for us. It was called the St. Vincent Guest House. That sounds creepy as fuck. After doing some research, I decided this would be the best place for us to stay because they offered private rooms with queen beds, and on top of that, the fact that it was an old building that probably had some rich history behind it. We get to town on a Sunday, move our stuff into the room, which was actually in a lot more decent condition than I first thought it would be, and immediately went to Bourbon Street to get ourselves some booze. The week goes on and we're getting very accustomed to the neighborhood, restaurants, and especially the workers at our hostel. We soon learned that the hostel, which was 3 double vaulted stories tall, so essentially 6, used to be an orphanage. that was built in 1861. Most of the orphans died of yellow fever. That's so sad. Chilling in and of itself. The week continues and we're having a blast. Out enjoying the food and culture and the alcohol all day. And even more alcohol at night. Since we were such a short walk from Bourbon Street, we tended to walk from St. Vincent's and back. Everything was going great until Wednesday morning. We wake up around noon and I roll around in bed for a minute next to her. When I finally sit up, I notice one of the chairs belonging to our bedroom's table was turned towards my side of the bed. It was sitting about 1 foot away from me, pointed my direction, and the seat was wet. I have heard about paranormal activity involving residual pools of water as phenomena, but I had never experienced it personally. My ex was nearly not as phased as I was. I searched the ceiling for leaks and looked for the gallon of water we had bought ourselves, but there was no culprit. I am still a bit skeptic when it comes to a lot of things like this, but for Christ's sake, if it's all real, then some ghost was sitting next to me, literally hovering over me as I slept. It shook me to my core, and I will probably never forget it. I went into a forum that day and spent about 2 hours talking it through with people, and they all tried to dismiss like it was fake. Too much of it made sense, and there were no evidence supporting any falseness to it. So I am left with this story and the belief that I was being observed by a child that has been dead for almost 150 years. So a lot of places were orphanages there, huh? And I did come across a lot of stories that say that when they get home, they still experience paranormal activity. Así que se traen cosas, y qué pinche miedo. And yeah, guys, this is it for today's video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!